Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you to the British Nutrition Foundation for asking me to present to you all today. My name is Anne Bensley. I'm one of the technologists here at CAFRE, which is the College of Agriculture and Food and Rural Enterprise here in Northern Ireland. My background is food, having worked in the industry for about 18 years. I'm a past student of CAFRE and I loved it that much. I came back to work here. I am now part of the packaging team. So for those of you who are not aware of who CAFRE are, we are part of the Northern Ireland Civil Service under the remit of DAERA. It's the equivalent of DEFRA in England or DAFM in the south. I did see we had a southern person attending. So our college provides education courses. We have diploma, degree, masters and apprenticeships, which are all validated by the universities here, University of Ulster and Queen's. The college also provides a knowledge advisory service and training courses to the agri-food industry here across Northern Ireland. CAFRE has 3 campuses. I'm based at the food site at our Cookstown campus, and we have an agriculture college in Antrim and an equestrian college in Enniskillen. Our students are highly sought after by industry upon graduation. They get to obtain real hands-on experience in our food technology and innovation centres, our packaging, chemistry, micro labs. So they really get great experience at Loughrea. There's a number of changes and advances within the food and packaging world that's been happening over the last number of years, and some of them I'll be sharing with you today. So I've asked to talk to you about packaging and food waste. What is so important? Why does it matter? So hopefully at the end of today, you'll be able to maybe make a few changes in your own house or the way you manage things. So food waste and the environmental impact. As you can see from the text on the slide there, food waste contributes to greenhouse gas emissions. Approximately 1/3 of all food produced for human consumption is lost or wasted globally. In the UK, households are responsible for 70% of all food waste. That's over 7 million tonnes. That's a staggering figure, and I don't think you can actually comprehend, what does 7 million tonnes actually look like. But just to kind of put it in comparison, the Eiffel Tower weighs just over 10,000 tonnes, so it's the equivalent of almost 700 Eiffel Towers, which is quite scary whenever you think of it like that. So there's a lot of focus as well on carbon footprint and food waste, as the UK has pledged to reduce its greenhouse gas emissions to net zero by 2050. You may have seen some food producers have already started putting on a carbon footprint on the packaging. One example is like Unilever. They make your Magnum ice cream, your pot noodles, Hellmann's mayonnaise. But food waste is food waste only, not including your manufacturing waste. This is just from the food waste from your homes. It's responsible for approximately 7% of global greenhouse gas emissions. And to put that into context again, as you can see in the slide, if food waste was a country, it would be the 3rd largest emitter of greenhouse gases after the United States and China, which is massive whenever you look at it that way as well. So packaging, where does packaging then fit in into this? But packaging, in particular plastics, it's received a lot of bad press in the last few years. So a lot of different programs and campaigns against packaging recently, but food is responsible maybe sort of about 26% of global emissions. And you can see there just up the top, if you divide it down, you can just see packaging fits in at 5% of that 26%. And you can see just the land use, crop production, etc., where it all fits in, and then packaging. But packaging does seem to get a lot of bad rap. But I will talk about that in a wee second. But so yeah, some of the food waste comes from harvesting, processing, manufacturing. But we've seen in the figure a few slides ago, that households are responsible for about 70% of the food waste. So how do we, as consumers, cause food waste? We buy a lot more than we need. It's our habits, our behaviours. I know we're all maybe a little bit guilty of it. Me too, especially when we're in supermarkets and you maybe see special offer, so you buy it and it maybe just lies in your cupboard and you don't use it. Another issue then is your improper storage. There's a nice wee graphic there on the screen showing about proper storage within your own fridges at home. So it's how we handle it within our own homes. And another big issue then is confusion actually over expiration dates. The difference between a use by and a best before. I recently held a similar talk like this in person, and about 70% of those that were in attendance said they wouldn't consume products after the use by, and about 20% after the best before dates. So it's, it doesn't necessarily mean the food's bad, but we can talk about that in a second too. So this is where the Too Good To Go campaigns has started. I'm not sure, maybe you haven't noticed that. I think they could maybe make the wee logo on the top of the cereal boxes a bit bigger. But if you keep an eye out the next time you open any of sort of your Nestle cereals, you'll see there's a wee logo at the top of it. If it looks okay, smells okay, tastes okay, then it's okay. Don't waste it. It obviously depends on your product. If it's a perishable product, that's a different scenario. But something like cereal, is generally okay after it goes past its date. I've many occasions eaten food products after the best before and even the use by, and that was before this campaign even began. But I do hate to waste food. Well, don't everybody start eating food past the use by date as well, because I said so. I don't want people to end up getting food poison. But I think if you use this campaign of looks okay, smells okay, tastes okay, it's fine to eat. Hopefully would reduce a lot of our food waste as well. But according to the Too Good To Go, it's quite hard to say sometimes, is according to the UK charity WRAP, an average household of 4 throws away about £1,000 worth of good food each year. Whenever we start seeing it in money values, it does make you sort of listen up a bit. And then a not so fun fact, if 25% of the food currently being lost or wasted globally was saved, it would be enough to feed 870 million people around the world. According to the World Health Organization, then in 2021, there was 828 people affected by hunger. So when you see those figures compared, it's terrible to think that there are people starving in the world, but in other parts of the world where it's been thrown away. Perfectly good as well, some of it. So what can we do as a consumer? A little food for thought. We all have a part to play in reducing food waste, and meal planning is one way which I personally started. Initially during COVID, as access to supermarkets were more difficult, so I began meal planning for the week, like working out exactly what fruit and veg I needed, right down to how many mushrooms, how many onions, cooked ham, yogurts, meat, everything. Exactly. And now my food waste is my veg peelings, and that's it. There's nothing thrown out in our house. And well, I would like to start actually putting them into the freezer and making up my own vegetable stock. And then I was actually reading a post on LinkedIn, which was came at the perfect time, and just a couple of days ago before this webinar, there was a person who was actually started looking at the peelings. So they peeled 2 kilos of potato, and they generated 405 grams of peelings. They peeled 1 kilo of carrots and generated 220 grams of peelings. It's more than 20% of the waste in both cases. So they suggested, is it really necessary to peel it? We can eat like wedges, skin on fries. Do we really have to peel it? So in the UK, there's around 6 million tonnes of potatoes sold each year. And if they're all peeled, that generates 1.2 million tonnes of waste just on potatoes. So it's quite staggering figures. So should we be educating people on the importance of meal planning and food preparation to reduce food waste? Since I started meal planning, it has reduced my food waste, and it's also the additional benefit of it's reduced my grocery bill, because I'm only buying exactly what I need. So it's a little something to have a think about if you don't already meal plan. We're all busy people probably working, and we maybe do meal plan, but meal planning to that level of detail that you are buying exactly what you need for the week. Another reason to reduce food waste is portion control. Making sure that you're putting the right amount of each of the macros onto your plate. Your proteins, palm size, your veggies, fist size, carbs, a cup, fats, about a thumb. It is a nice little visual. Even these are all for all you teachers. To demonstrate to your students, on correct portion control too. I'm a little guilty sometimes of maybe not using it because I hate the waste food and I always clear my plate, but it was maybe coming back from whenever you were a child and you were sitting at home at the dinner table and you were told that, you had to clear your plate, maybe as part of it. But on this wee slide here, if you aren't aware of these, two really good resources for information, activities and workbooks. I do in the next couple of slides, I do have examples of them, but really good, fantastic resources and information. So if you want to take it, it's WRAP, and then as part of WRAP, it's the Love Food Hate Waste campaign is linked with WRAP. So if you Google either of these after the webinar, you should be able to find these resources I'm going to show here. So they have a lovely wee one booklet. It's literally, as it says, it's an A to Z of tips and advice of what you can do with ingredients that are maybe, that you maybe have extra in the house that you can put into your freezer, or gives you examples of things that you can do with the items. And then the other wee handbook, it gives examples of like activities and even like for like a presentation stuff, workshop activities, suggesting, if you were doing talks or whatever, or presenting to your students, wee ideas of what you can do. And then these are another couple of wee resources that are off the website as well. So there's a know your dates, it's matching up. Do you know the difference between your use bys and displays until, etc. And then your portion, cooking the right size of the right amount of food for you, and then how to store and save as well. And there's loads, there is a few others. I just didn't have enough room in the slide. If I put any more, it was making them too small and you wouldn't have been able to see. So there are others on there. If you just want to definitely go and take a look at the website, it's great. They are very good activities. So I've talked a wee bit about food waste. So where does packaging waste then fit into this? So packaging waste is anything that's been discarded, from that you've taken home. So you've taken your food products home, and anything then you discard after. It causes pollution, resource depletion. It leads to increased energy consumption, greenhouse gas during manufacture and disposal. And then the improper disposal of packaging can also contaminate your soil and water and wildlife habitats as well. The key words, and I've highlighted improper disposal with a reason. Yeah, packaging waste is an issue, but we as human beings also have a responsibility of how to dispose of it properly. Increased education is maybe needed for disposal, but also a better infrastructure for handling and recycling materials is required as well, to allow materials all to be recycled properly, as they should. Not sure if you would maybe be aware, but there's going to be the introduction of a deposit return scheme coming hopefully in the next 2 to 3 years. Scotland was supposed to have brought it in toward, I think maybe it was August 23, but it's been delayed. But hopefully across the UK, this is going to be coming in, across all nations. So what's going to be happening is they want to try and improve the recycling rates of your glass and plastic and metal cans. So whenever you go into your shop, you're going to make a purchase of whatever even your tin of beans or your can of Coke or whatever. And they'll maybe place like I'm not sure of the exact figure yet, but maybe a 20p levy on each item. So then you take it home, consume the product, and then you can bring it back to participate in store that's got it's like a return vending machine. So you just pop the can or bottle or whatever the item is back into the machine, and it then gives you back like a credit for the levy that you paid initially. The main aim is that they want to try and improve the good recycled content getting back into the system again, and then to reduce the littering as well. I was on holiday in Holland a few years ago, and it was operational, and it was one of the Eurocamp sites. They did have in the wee shop on the site, they had one of the return vending machines that you could use. And as far as I know, I was reading the other day, I think the Republic of Ireland is actually bringing that in this year. Plans are still going ahead for it anyway. So, but this isn't a new thing. Yes, the technology is different, where it's going to be done through like a barcoding and whatever, but this, 30, 40 years ago, for any who's old enough to remember, this, you know, you could have collected up your bottles and took them back to the shop, or charities would have done this quite a lot as well. Your milkman, you know, for any who's lucky enough still to get your milk delivered maybe to your door, the milkman brought your glass bottle, you used it, he came back, took it away and give you, you know, give you another bottle in its place. It's the exact same principle, only it's a wee bit of technology now involved in it. But with recycling, I know here in Northern Ireland, there's a big variation depending on which council you live in as to what materials can actually be placed in which bin. And there's a different bin, maybe, you know, for a different material. Some accept, like my own bin here, accepts all metal, glass, hard plastics, all goes into one bin. Others, as I said, needs to be maybe like a wee red bin as well, depending on which council. But you also then have the likes of your Tesco and Lidl that accept your soft plastics. So that's like your bread bags, crisp packets, you know, the wrapping, if you buy your fruit in the multi-pack, they can all go back to like your Tesco or Lidl. But I just think it is very confusing sometimes, even myself. And I work in packaging, sometimes I am very confused as to, can this be recycled? I'm not sure, you know, it is very confusing. And that's hopefully what this next slide is going to, or the introduction of this so the on-pack recycling label, or OPRL for short, is being introduced. It's not mandatory yet, but it will be in March, April 2026, where under new legislation it's linked to extended producer's responsibility. Although a lot of manufacturers, hopefully some of you have already seen the change already happening, but the producers will be putting on this nice new green swoosh if it can be widely recycled, and then depending as well upon the product. So say you've got, like down in the bottom corner there, so say you've got a multi-component pack, you know, that's got a tray, a film and a sleeve, but you're not sure, can my tray be recycled? Can my sleeve be recycled? I'm not sure. It actually will split it down into each individual component as well. It's not compulsory on plastic films and recyclables until March 2027, as you see in the slide there. And there is a wee link if you want to go and have a wee read on the OPRL website. So hopefully, as I said, hopefully some of you have already started to see it, and I'm hoping, you know, it will remove sort of that ambiguity of what can and can't be recycled at home, and what then we can actually take to, you know, our larger supermarkets for recycling. So in a bid to reduce food waste, extend shelf life, some food manufacturers have individually wrapped their products, but I'm not, you know, I'm not 100% convinced. Are we reducing food waste, or are we creating packaging waste? Unfortunately, I don't have the answer to that. It really is a 50-50 scenario, and I do have a few examples coming up here. So you can see here on the left-hand side of the screen, Saint Pierre, brioche and croissants. They do a few other products as well. They individually wrap the rolls and the croissant inside the outer bag. You know, while this is maybe handy for, like, you know, a kid's lunchbox or going for a picnic or whatever, it does, you know, it is keeping them fresh for longer, but it's excess packaging. You know, could you just have them loose, the way, you know, I think Tesco's own brand are just loose in the bag. Mr. Kipling is the same. It's the individually, you can see in the photo there, the individually wrapped slices. They're maybe good for somebody who lives alone. You know, they want to buy the pack, but, you know, they're not going to consume it quick enough. You know, they're maybe going to go stale, or, but again, is this excess packaging? So you're maybe reducing food waste, but you're creating packaging waste. But it's trying to find that right balance of, so if the packaging waste is disposed of properly, it is preserving the food and extending the shelf life and reducing food waste. So another couple of examples, I don't have pictures of them, but is they're kind of a bit of a pet hate of mine. Our selection boxes and Easter eggs. Easter eggs have reduced their packaging in the last number of years from what it used to be, but some of the selection boxes, you know, I did buy a couple at Christmas time, just for my own, to see what the packaging was like in them, and the product probably could have fitted in maybe half the amount of material that was actually being used, but would they look as appealing if it was a much smaller, maybe half the size what's actually being packed? So then would we actually buy them? Maybe not. You know, is that a selling point? Is that what they're using to attract the customer? So I also mentioned earlier that, you know, at the start that we are a college, you know, and as part of our education programs, we educate our students about different methods in food technology, which are used for preservation of food, not just packaging, but other methods, microbiological hurdles, we call them, which are used to prevent food spoilage and extend your shelf life. Some of you, you know, if you are food nutrition teachers, you know, you're probably well aware of what they are. But so here you can see some of the different hurdles we use in food technology during your product development. So I like this little acronym. It helps me remember them, to be honest. So the TOMCAT. So it's your temperature, your oxygen, your moisture, composition of your food, your acidity, and then your time. They can be used individually. They can be used as a combination, depending on what your food product is. And I particularly like this little graphic which shows the microbes all trying to overcome the hurdles. But so yeah, as a packaging department, we are actually the only one of its kind of, definitely in the north, and as far as I know in the south of Ireland. We can educate our students and we support industry about packaging and how it is vital in food production. We're looking at functions of the packaging. They're able to use the testing equipment during practical sessions to investigate different materials, and then they apply this to the theory that they have learned. So through this, they also learn then about the benefits of using different types of packaging and why do you use that package for that particular product. And then the methods, you know, that are used to extend the shelf life and ultimately reduce food waste. So a few examples there on the screen of different packaging types is your so your MAP or your modified atmosphere packaging. So that's like, you know, your trays of maybe your chicken fillets. You know, they come in the plastic tray with the plastic film on the top. So inside that there's a special gas mix, which is used then to extend the shelf life from just being a standard open that you maybe get from your butcher, say, that lasts, you know, maybe only 3 or 4 days, up to using the special gas mixes. You can last to maybe sort of 10 or 12 days. Canning, so the design of the can, if you know that beading that's down the side of the can, that is circumferential beading on the side, it enables the can to actually like expand ever so slightly during the heat treatment. That's the purpose of those of the beading. It allows that expansion, and then it retracts in again when it cools. Then your crisp packets have changed a good bit over the last few years. They now contain like a metallized foil layer on the inside. So whenever you open up, it's that nice shiny color. It's just it's a really, really good gas moisture light barrier. So it's preserving, prolonging the shelf life of the crisp. You have your orange juice cartons. So I know Tesco's own brand orange juice cartons, a prime example where there's actually several layers within that juice carton. So it's made up of like a plastic paper, again, a metallized foil similar to your crisp packets, and then another plastic layer all sandwiched together. And then, well, individual portions, we did have a wee look at that a second ago with your Mr. Kipling and your cake or the buns. I'm losing my words. So yeah, so what technology and innovations for food waste reduction is there? So industry are continually advancing and developing their packaging solutions to try and extend shelf life whatever way they can. The latest ones that are probably going to be coming onto the market, well, I haven't actually seen these yet, are like sensors that's going to alert if there's been any, you know, change to the product, or if it's past its best, or if there's, you know, if there has been, you know, you can see in the first one there of the salad that it's below 8 degrees, and you know, that'll change if there is any if it goes above that temperature. But not entirely convinced that these beneficial. You know, if there was a mild, you know, if the temperature did go ever so slightly above the 8 degrees, it doesn't necessarily affect the actual product. The product's still maybe okay, but the consumers maybe going to look, oh, look, the sensor's telling me that the product's not good anymore. So, I can't eat it, and they end up maybe throwing it away. So, is food going to end up getting dumped unnecessarily? Maybe if the sensor was faulty, but then do we go back to our campaign of it looks okay, smells okay, tastes okay? Is definitely an option. So what in their packaging or in the packaging world, there's been lots of other developments. Biggest one's probably plastic reduction. So a lot of the work that we've been doing with industry, there's the big drive to reduce the plastic in products, and it's ever since, well, especially since the introduction of the plastics tax, which came in April 2022. And then also as a result of David Attenborough, the Blue Planet programme, and there was the Save the Turtle campaigns, and that's why we've basically seen now that there's a single-use plastics have been banned with alternates like your paper straw, wooden, bamboo, cutlery as well. So an actual one of our ex-Loughrea students was actually involved with the development of the paper straw, which is now being used basically worldwide. But whenever you see the images of of the Great Pacific garbage patch, which is the largest of the five, there's 5 of these garbage patches in our oceans. That largest one is about 3 times the size of France. Now, although the waste, it's all types of waste, it's not just food packaging, it is quite alarming, and it does bring us back to to my earlier point of improper disposal and the lack of infrastructure. Are we disposing of it properly? But as we can see from the screen here, so the recent developments we have seen in our packaging team is manufacturers moving away from that top left picture there from your standard sort of MAP pack of your plastic tray and your film to what you can see in the picture just there, the wee arrow pointing down to your single plastic film, which has been backpacked. And now Sainsbury's were one of the first to launch, and they did receive quite a lot of sort of negative feedback from consumers. A lot of people weren't happy with the format, but I think this is the way it's going to go. I've been talking to quite a few producers recently, and they're all moving to that same format of the backpack mints. Although I would point out, that the MAP tray was or is fully recyclable, and the plastic film then could be taken to your larger store, whereas this new film has to be taken to your larger store, which a lot of people either don't do or they're not even aware that you can do that. So then it's just going to end up, in the general rubbish bin, maybe going into landfill. So is it a better option? Yeah, it's less plastic, but is it going to get recycled? So, and the other example then on the right hand side, although I haven't seen this in Northern Ireland yet, is Tesco are launching a pillow pack. So it's similar to like a crisp bag. It's just like filled with air to preserve the mints. So another big example, or another big change which is coming, which is maybe seen already in stores for any use that maybe shop on M&S. They're one of the first ones that have actually launched this, which is again a removal of a plastic tray and then into a paper board tray. But this has then a plastic lining which has to be separated off, so then you can actually put it into your bin for recycling. As you can see, all these changes that are recent are all plastic reduction. So another one is Actimel, which you've maybe seen. So Actimel have actually removed they had like a wee printed plastic sleeve that sat over the top of their bottle, but they've actually removed that plastic sleeve and are now creating the bottles there down on the bottom right of the screen, which have been embossed with the Actimel logo and then about the the natural bacteria and the wee design of the splash of the juice in the bottom. So that's all been embossed into the actual bottle whenever it's been manufactured. The plastic bottle is now fully recyclable, but the foil lid now actually can't because it's heavily printed. So it means you can't actually put that for a recycle, but the plastic bottle is now fully recyclable. Another big change, which is again plastic reduction, plastics tax, is, you know, you've probably seen all your multi-pack cans have all gone from being encased in that plastic sleeve, which held them all together, to now that the carton board top. Initially, whenever that was first come out, the glue wasn't holding the cans properly, so every time you lifted them, it was just all falling apart. But they've corrected that now, and it's, well, the last few that I have seen, it is working now. But again, you know, this is, as I say, this is the manufacturer's response to the introduction of the plastics tax. Manufacturers are actually required now, as part of that input of that tax, to pay £200 per tonne of plastic packaging that they are producing or importing. So there's a lot of development work going on as well about, so if you know your full pallet of product that goes through your distribution chain, there a lot of companies now are doing work on reducing the amount of plastic shrink wrap and pallet wrap, stretch wrap that they're using on their pallets for during the distribution chain, just to try and reduce the fees or the tax that they're having to pay. Another big one, which is only just hit our shelves maybe about if even 2 months, might not even be that long. So Heinz have actually changed their bottles to improve recyclability. So there was a wee previously, before, there was a plastic membrane within the lid, and that's what stopped kind of your sauce all squirting out everywhere. So that plastic membrane has now been removed, and you can actually see just in the top of that lid there. So there's a new way that the sauce is actually passing down through within the lid. So it now makes the bottle fully recyclable and the lid fully recyclable. And then another slight Caffrey claim to fame as the head of the packaging at Heinz and R&D in Holland. He studied his packaging diploma at Loughrea. And we also have one of our past students working over there as part of the team as well. So Caffrey students, we're getting everywhere. So these aren't quite like to food waste, but I just think they're really there's interesting developments that have been happening in packaging. So Kellogg's have launched the introduction of the Navi lens. So it's a wee bit similar to a QR code, just works on a slightly different concept. So you can scan that Navi lens with your phone, download an app and scan it, and it will actually would actually tell you all about the product. So it'll read out that it's Kellogg's cornflakes. It'll give you all ingredients declarations. It'll give you all your nutritional information, everything on the front of the box. And the reason for this is it helps, you know, visually impaired. You maybe can't, you know, read the information on the box about allergens or anything, but it reads the entire thing. It's very smart. If next time if you haven't noticed or you haven't tried it on your box at home, and you have a box of cornflakes, well, any Kellogg's, just give it a go till you see it. It's very good. The one in the middle there is your Napolina chopped tomatoes. So it has the QR code which has been put on, and it shows then, you know, like the manufacturer details of the tomatoes and a wee bit about, you know, a background about Napolina and a bit of story. You know, you can see there about their commitment to upholding human rights, and it goes on then as well and talks about you know, about the recyclability and what they're doing for sustainability and everything as well. And then on your right hand side there, so it's a vegan, your plant-based bacon products, Vivera. On the back they have a QR code as well, and if you scan it, it gives you ideas for recipes that you can make with the product. So you've probably, well, hopefully you have noticed, you know, on a lot of your packaging recently, there's been an increase in the amount of QR codes that are appearing. That's just so as manufacturers are trying to increase the communication that they have with their consumers with a QR code, you know, able to provide, you know, all that additional information. You know, that one wee small code, you know, opens up and to a whole world of information, you know, background to the product, competitions, games. It's, you know, it is a very good way for consumers to find out what their, you know, what their for manufacturers, sorry, to find out what their consumers find about their product. Another wee one is 19 Crimes. The QR, well, it's not really a QR code, it scans through an app on your phone. So the person speaks to you, and that's before you drink the wine. But if there's, and it's not a full conversation, so if this happens, it's maybe time to put the wine bottle down. But they tell you a story about the crime they've committed. You know, it's just a selling point that this manufacturer have come up with, and I see they've actually paired up with Snoop Dogg. Actually, has launched. There's one with his face on it, although I haven't bought it yet, but I'm on the lookout for it. So. And then just before I finish off, I have a couple of wee case studies just about plastic and the biodegradable plastic. So you may have seen some of the fields where they've started using this biodegradable mulch for whenever they're planting their crops. But it's kind of, this one is it really biodegradable? So researchers in Spain and Netherlands have found there's about 3,000 microplastics per gram being found in sediments of soil and in the ditches where these have been used, and more than half of the microplastics that they've discovered has actually come from this biodegradable mulch foils. So it begs the question, just is it really biodegradable? It's an interesting case study for any of you teachers out there, you know, especially maybe even your geography as well. It would maybe be beneficial for them too. But another little one was Arla, and this one's now I think from a couple of years ago. So Arla completed trials to determine if a best before should be used, best before should be used rather than a use by on their milk products to try and reduce food waste as well. It's an interesting one. It was done in conjunction actually with WRAP. I think it's on the WRAP website. So after trials were conducted, they had no complaints or adverse reactions. So it launched then with Cravendale and their BOB, which is the best of both milk, in 2019 on the slide there, and then in 2021 Morrison's asked them then to join to make a change on their own label as well. So I appreciate there was maybe a lot of information, but you know, it's been recorded, so hopefully you can get a chance maybe to watch it back, and but hopefully you find it beneficial and it's provided you an insight into the world of packaging and food waste. So thank you all for joining and listening, and yeah, that's it. So
great, thank you, Anne. That was really interesting. So if anybody has got any questions, then please do pop them in the chat box. What I'm going to do now is just share my screen again and just go through some of the resources that we've got on Food, A Fact of Life that you might find helpful, and then a few sources of information, and then we'll wrap up at the end with any questions if anybody's got anything. So just to go through, this is a reminder of what we've covered. Few resources we've got about teaching about reducing food waste. So we've got some presentations and worksheets, as you would imagine. Anne was talking about portion sizes, and we've got a handy guide actually on the nutrition.org.uk website, and there's a link on the screen for that, and you might find that useful to actually work with the pupils. And so there's some nice images in there and some nice sort of ideas of things that you could do in order to get the pupils to have a think about portion sizes, and without having to weigh and measure, because we're used to weighing and measuring in school, but not everybody at home has got scales or the right sort of equipment. One of the things we've developed as well is some resources around leftovers, and we've got some activities to do around that. And particularly one which is a new one, which is our super soup and flatbreads recipe, and there's a picture of it there. And basically it's getting the pupils to be sort of creative around making a soup, but trying to use up leftovers, things that are in the fridge, the back of the fridge pie kind of thing, but this is a back of the fridge soup. So those resources are on the website, and there's a teacher's guide for it, and then a pupil recipe as well. And that can be done individually or in groups. And then we've also got some ideas about reducing waste and reducing costs, because We know at the moment with the cost of living crisis, if we can reduce waste, as Anne said, I think we're spending or wasting £1,000 a year on throwing food away. Most people, I think, would appreciate hanging on to that £1,000. So if there's ways that you can save money, then and encouraging your pupils and their parents to save money as well, I think that would benefit everybody. A little bit about food packaging and labelling. Again, we've got lots of resources on the website, specifically about packaging, but also about food labelling. They're about nutrition labelling, but also about the general information that you might find on packaging. And we've got quizzes and answers and things. We've got our knowledge organisers. If you haven't come across those yet, we have a knowledge organiser for every topic that needs to be taught in school, and those can be edited to suit your needs and cut up and used as flashcards and all sorts of things. So we've got a couple for 11 to 14 and 14 to 16 that you might find helpful around this topic. And then we've also got this blank packaging net. And when I was teaching, I used to use this quite a lot because I would get the pupils to make a dish, and then they needed to design the packaging. And I know it's not traditional DT anymore, but it is quite a useful way of getting them to think about the kind of information that they would need to put on packaging. So it's quite fun for them to cut it out and write the information on it and then pretend that their product would be packaged in that. So hopefully some of those resources might be useful for you to use. A very quick thing about a couple of other resources that we've got. These aren't necessarily related to what we're talking about today, although we do obviously cover food waste and we cover packaging and labelling as part of this. But these are our new roadmaps, and they're basically a curriculum plan, a curriculum map from 3 to 16 years, which covers everything that the pupils should know, the key facts throughout their food journey. And we do have downloadable ones that you can print. But then we've also got interactive ones. So if you click on a key fact, you're then taken to the area of the website with the relative information on it. And then that will help you, hopefully, with your teaching and your planning. The other thing that's new are some new videos that we've created. So we did have some quite old videos from the old License to Cook programme on the website, and we've now redone them. And they're peer-to-peer videos, really lovely, nice, bright videos showing pupils using food skills in the correct way. Nice short video clips with some information on them. And we've also got some teacher versions coming soon. So if you're a trainee teacher and feel that you need a little bit of support being able to teach these particular skills, hopefully these videos will help you with that. A few sources of information. So Anne gave you some great things, particularly looking at the WRAP website, and I have got on here as well. But there's a link to the UFIC, which is a European website. It's a bit about how to reduce food waste at home. Guardians of Grub, that's an industry-based programme, which is restaurants and other organisations and what they're doing to reduce food waste and also sort of food packaging waste as well. What might be useful for you in school is this Western Riverside Waste Authority. So it's a local authority, but actually they've got a really nice website which has got a food waste calculator that you could use, a plate waste survey, and then information about engaging pupils and improving the dining experience. So if it's something that you're wanting to think about in school and getting the pupils involved, I'd recommend having a look at that website. And then there's in England, there's a charity which is a food repurposing charity called UK Harvest, and they've got some nice education resources around what you could do to, again, reduce food waste and use leftovers well. Just a reminder to keep up to date with our free resources and trainings. We've got education news. Hopefully everybody's registered for that. If you're not, you can sign up for that on our website. We do have a PPD newsletter that is sent out every now and again, and that will tell you about what sort of trainings coming up. We've got Twitter, or X, as we should probably be saying now. And then we've also got a separate email address for education, if you can't remember who you should be emailing at Food Effective Life or the BNF. We've got education@nutrition.org.uk. And then also we have a BNF news. So if you're more interested in sort of general nutrition information, what's going on in the nutrition world, then you could sign up for BNF news. before we finish and see if we've got any questions for Anne, something about more training. So very short notice, I know, but we do have a conference taking place on Saturdays. So we were really lucky to come to CAFRE in November and spend a day at the university and actually work with Anne and the other lecturers there and actually use all the facilities. And we're going to be doing something similar at Harper Adams University on Saturday. So there are a few places left. We've had a few last minute cancellations, which is a shame. So if anybody's close by to Harper Adams on Saturday, do let us know, do sign up and come along. We've got another webinar at the end of February, which is about bringing where food comes from to life, and that's suitable for both primary and secondary teachers, and really thinking about the practical things that you can do in the classroom and actually outside of the classroom as well. And then we've got a virtual practical workshop, which does fit in with this nicely too. It's about cooking on a budget, thinking about healthy, affordable meals, and we'll be talking about food waste and other hints and tips as part of that. And we've got a free online courses, lots there that you can sign up for and do at your own time and your own speed. And then we've had a couple of webinars in the past around food waste, and we've got the recordings and presentations for those. So one of them was linking practical food skills, cooking and food waste, and the other one was focusing much more on reducing food waste in schools. So before we see if we've got any questions for Anne, there would be the evaluation, as I mentioned right back at the beginning. So it'd be great to have your feedback, what you thought was good, what we could improve. If there's anything else that you feel that would be good to focus on for our training for next year, because we're going to be starting to plan that soon. And once you've completed that, you'll be given a link to a downloadable certificate, which you can then print out and keep in your records. So questions, let's have a quick questions. There was one, Anne, which I saw right back at the beginning, which was about what about those products that don't meet the beauty standards that are required by supermarkets, and what's being done about those, and what can be encouraged maybe for the supermarkets to actually try and sell those, or for people to use them?
Yeah, so what, maybe not a correct term, but what they class as sort of the ugly fruit and veg, which doesn't meet the supermarket spec. I know some of the supermarkets are actually have reduced their spec slightly, but a lot of the sort of the out of spec fruit and veg would go into, you know, like maybe your soup manufacturers, or they would take on. But yeah, some of them do get disposed of, which is quite unfortunate. But yeah, some of it goes into the likes of you know, anywhere where it has to be like chopped up, or you know, so you don't see that it's misshapen in any way. I mean, there's absolutely nothing wrong with it. It just maybe has, you know, a bit of a bend in the carrot, or you know, it's not the right shape, or you know, it's a bit unfortunate because there's absolutely nothing wrong with it to eat. But yeah, a lot of it goes into like your food manufacturer. Yeah, I see somebody just commented there. I love Aldi's wonky grapes. But yeah, some of the supermarkets, because I've even noticed you know, myself, you know, there's some of the sort of misshapen carrots are now starting to actually make it into the shop. So hopefully they'll all start to follow suit and not be so fussy because there's nothing wrong with them.
No, absolutely. I was in one of the supermarkets at the weekend, and along the windowsill by the tills, there were lots of boxes full of fruit and vegetables that had gone beyond their date. I mean, they still looked perfectly good. There are, but when I was looking at them, though, they were a really strange combination of fruit and vegetables. So I think you probably have to have the time and maybe the skills to be able to think about using these and how you go about using them. So whether that's something that supermarkets can think about, is just providing a little bit of information about these fruit and vegetables and how they can be used.
Yeah, I know even like I think it was Tesco, you know, so whenever you would have went say maybe to buy, and you bought your bunch of bananas, and you maybe would have broke one off and left it behind, all the single ones were all being left behind. People weren't picking up the individual, they were just going and lifting the bunches, and all the singles then were. So what Tesco then, they actually started then putting it into like a box and telling people to, you know, take them for free for your children, and you know, which, you know, it's a good option. Like it doesn't matter whether the banana's in a bunch or whether the banana's a single, it's still a banana. You know, whenever you take it home, you break it off and eat it, you know, so what's the difference, you know?
No, absolutely. And I think there's one final question. So going back to sort of wonky veg and things, somebody said, do you think it's the consumer's fault that the supermarkets don't sell them?
Possibly, yeah. There was, I actually viewed a webinar as well. It was to do with, this maybe not directly answering the question, but where the consumers were saying about, oh, why are we using all the plastic? Why don't we, you know, have just the loose, back to the loose fruit and veg? So some of the supermarkets, I know Tesco still do have the loose, but some of them then started putting the loose into as a response to this, but the loose didn't sell. The pre-packaged stuff was all selling a lot better than the loose, but yet with all this was what consumers were saying. So I think it's very hard even for retailers to, you know, to try and keep all consumers happy. You know, everybody has a different idea of what they want and what they would eat. Yeah, I do think consumers play a huge part in the wonky veg, and you know, retailers as well. They want to be selling the best of the best as well. You know, they want their products and to stand out as well. So it's, you know, it's a little bit of everyone's fault possibly, you know, but again, back to there's absolutely nothing wrong with them.
Great. And then one of this isn't really a question, but just Sarah said that I found the info on peelings really interesting and surprising, and we did a recipe for Healthy Eating Week last year, which was about making crisps with potato peelings, and actually it's such an easy thing to do, and we buy vegetable crisps all the time, obviously potato crisps, but other vegetable crisps. And so just to think about using those or making a stock, as you said, or freezing them. And so there's lots of things that we can do, but it just takes a bit of time perhaps to think about it.
Yeah, you know, and we do all have, you know, we are all busy, you know, we're all working, you know, it's difficult, you know, being out at work all day, coming home and preparing, but you know, it is all in your preparation. You know, being prepared and like I know the meal planning thing, you know, definitely changed my life, you know, it made it a lot easier. I know I do my meal plan on a Thursday night. I order my Tesco and I do it on for a Friday, and that's me for the week. I don't go near a shop or anything, so saves money too, which is a bonus.
Yes, absolutely. Right. Okay. Well, thank you so much, and we really appreciate it. It's been really interesting.
Thank you.
Thank you for your time, and thank you everybody else for joining us this evening. And please do complete the evaluation. If you are not automatically directed now, then I will be sending it out to you tomorrow. So please don't panic. But as I say, we're always very grateful for people to come back and let us know what they think. So thank you very much. Have a lovely evening. Thank you again, Anne. And we'll see everybody again soon. Thank you very much. Thanks. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.